My sisters are technically adults, but my mom funds both of their lives. My middle sister is currently planning a wedding and looking for a house, and my mom is paying for all of that. My younger sister is a full-time student, and my mom pays all of her bills, plus pays for her expensive hobby, horses, and is taking her on an international trip in August. I do feel that while they are dependent on her, she has some authority, even if they are adults. Recently, my mom's friend hosted a birthday lunch for my mom. My fiance was invited. Honestly, I might have pressured my mom a bit there, but I felt it was rude to not invite her when other women in the family were going. My fiance texted my middle sister and asked about what they were wearing, as she didn't have a formal invitation. My fiance does worry a lot about her appearance and how people perceive her. They told her it was super casual and they were just wearing shorts and t-shirts. She asked if they were sure, and they sent a picture of my mom wearing cotton shorts and a tank top. It is very clear from the picture that she didn't know they were taking it. Well, my fiance showed up and it was a formal brunch. Everyone was dressed really nice and she was humiliated. She said she wanted to leave. My mom told her the real FU would be staying and acting like she didn't care, but she left. I was furious. I called both of my sisters and cursed them out, and then I called my mom and asked what she was going to do. My mom was confused and asked what was she supposed to do when they are adults. I said that since she gives them both so much money, she can find a way to punish them. I suggested she stop paying for the wedding and cut off my younger sister's fun money. My mom got mad and said she would never ruin her own daughter's wedding and that I don't get to tell her what to do with her money. At that point, I lost it. I said unless she punishes them, I will hold her fully responsible for what they did, and that I won't forgive her, so she needs to think about what type of relationship she wants with me going forward. She said I was being a jerk, and I don't get to tell her what to do with her money. I told her to enjoy her witch daughters and hung up. Now the family is divided, but I've been accused of being controlling and manipulative for what I said. Not the a-hole. How humiliating for your fiancé. I wouldn't blame her if she excluded your whole family from your wedding. Frankly, I think you should. You don't need the thought of what they might try to pull at your wedding to cause any stress or anxiety. Even though your sisters are adults, your mom should definitely do something about what they did. Maybe not as extreme as you're suggesting, but something. The fact that she is doing nothing is disgraceful, as it shows she doesn't care about your fiancé, her feelings, or your feelings. Yes, the a-hole. The nasty little roads are your sisters who you should be having it out with, not your mom. Don't butt into her financials, as it makes you look jealous. I hope your fiancé is okay. That was a horrible trick they pulled. Is there a reason your sisters don't like your girlfriend? They think she ruined our family because my mom and I talk a lot less, and my mom invites me around less because she finds her annoying. They think I chose her and her family over them. But then they aren't even mad at our mom for not inviting me. Everyone sucks here, except for your mom, who has unfortunately found herself caught in between her immature and petty children, who apparently can't communicate with each other and enjoy taking cheap shots. While what your sisters did was a little rude, in the grand scheme of things, showing up dressed casual to a formal brunch is so minor. Unless the restaurant wouldn't let her in, and it doesn't sound like the case. Leaving your mom's birthday party because your fiancé couldn't let go of her ego for around 2 hours is rude. Especially when you strong-armed your mom into inviting someone to her own birthday party. Guaranteed, no one cared about how your fiancé was dressed aside from her. Your mom is right. Pretending like it didn't matter was the way to go, instead of making your mom's birthday all about her. You, however, take the cake. First, you pressured someone to invite a person they obviously didn't want at their birthday. It hurts, but that's their right. But you also didn't go yourself and be a buffer between your family and fiancé. You kind of fed her to the wolves here. I, 70 male, have been estranged from my biological daughter, 37 female, since she was 2. Her mother and I married after only 3 months of dating, and when we divorced, she bled me for everything I have. She made it very hard for me to see my daughter, and after a while, I stopped trying. To be honest, that was a period of my life I wanted to leave behind. Fast forward 2 years. I met and married the love of my life, and soon after, I adopted her 5-year-old daughter. She has always called me dad, and sees me as more of a father than my biological daughter does. Now, both my ex and my wife are dead, and I am the only parent in both my daughter's lives. My daughter and I reconnected not long after her mother's death, and have been trying to make it work. Anyway, a couple of days ago, my daughter and I were talking, and the subject of my will came up. My stepdaughter is the sole beneficiary of my will, and has been since her mother died. After a bit of pressing, I told my daughter as much. She freaked out, and told me that since she is my only real daughter, she should get the most money. I refused. I barely know her and would rather have the money go to my stepdaughter, who I consider my real daughter. Now, both my friends and family are calling me an a-hole, saying I'm all she really has. I'm sorry she never found another father figure, but I'd rather the money go to my stepdaughter. Am I the a-hole? Edit. A couple of you seem confused by the timeline, so I will add some more details. My ex and I divorced when my daughter was about 6 months, and since I was in pretty bad financial straits, she got full custody. I fought to see my daughter for about a year and a half after, but gave up because of my ex's hostility and my financial situation. A couple of months after, I met my wife. I paid child support during this time and all through my daughter's childhood. I even pitched in for child support when my ex called me crying about how hard it was to put a kid through college. Saw my daughter once this entire time, when she was 7, through the mercy of ex's sister. She couldn't have been less interested. Didn't contact me once until ex died last year. Almost certain her mom gave her a sob story to keep her from reaching out. Not the a-hole. Sounds like your bio daughter tries to reconnect so she can get money from you. Leave what you want, if all, to your adoptive daughter. She is your daughter, your bio is a stranger. Everyone sucks here. She's your daughter. She's literally your child. Your ex being a jerk doesn't change that. However, she's also kind of an a-hole for wanting more money than your stepdaughter. It should be equal as they are both your daughters. You abandoned your 2-year-old daughter and adopted someone else's 5-year-old daughter. And you seem surprised people don't understand why you aren't trying to make this at least somewhat right with your abandoned daughter. It's your money to leave to whomever you like. But man, yes, the a-hole. Not the a-hole. I don't mean to step out of line here, but there sounds like there's something fishy about your bio daughter. Just remember, it's your will, your choice, nobody else's. If I were you and you're secure with your decision, I would check with a lawyer to make sure no one can contest your decision after your death, especially considering your bio daughter's reaction. Also, never feel guilty. I've had a weird family dynamic growing up too. I've learned that I even have friends that are more like family to me than real family. Blood doesn't mean anything, unfortunately. So, my husband and I have been together 4 years and married for 2. He has a 12-year-old daughter who lives in another state with her mom. Recently, her mom lost her job, and they got evicted from their apartment. Stepdaughter now wants to come stay with us like she normally does every summer. However, this time she wants her mom to stay with us too, because she's lost her job and has no place to live. My husband thinks it could work, but I'm 100% against it. For one thing, I bought this house before I got married, and I don't want my husband's ex sleeping in one of my guest bedrooms. Simple, right? Stepdaughter is upset that I've laid down the law and accused me of trying to keep her and her mom apart. I told her she doesn't have to stay with us this summer, but my rules are final. So now she and her mom are staying with another relative 1 state over. My husband now wants to stay near them over the next few weeks as a result, because he won't see stepdaughter for the rest of the year otherwise. I told him if he's actually thinking of driving off and living with his ex, then he can move out permanently, and I'll be filing for a divorce right after. I have some friends, family, who think I'm being too harsh over this. But I don't see why I should be okay with my husband's ex living with us for any period of time. Am I the a-hole? Edit. To clarify, stepdaughter won't leave her mom this year for a bunch of random reasons. Nothing comprehensible or legitimate in my opinion. Husband has no custody of her, so we can't force her to come live with us, even though living with us by herself is the obvious solution. I know. So, husband thinks the best course of action is to drive to see her. Honestly, that's a deal breaker for me. It's a damn pandemic, and if he thinks he should be 5 minutes down the road from his ex instead of his wife, then he's made his choice, and I'll have made mine. Yes, the a-hole. Them. Asking her to move in for the summer could lead to a permanent situation. There must be other options, since she stays every summer, so technically, you don't keep them apart. Why can't the ex stay with the relative for the summer while the stepdaughter stays with you, like the custody agreement states? You. He said he was staying near them, not with them. You are asking him to choose you over his kid. Has his ex given you issues? Yes, the a-hole. Not because you don't want your husband's ex to stay in your house, but because you are giving your current husband no options to see his daughter this summer. It's incredibly selfish of you. Reading between the lines, it doesn't sound like there's much respect between you and your stepdaughter, and that it could be influencing your decision. If this were me and my current wife was putting up roadblocks to me seeing my daughter, I would be filing for a divorce myself. Try to think of it not as your ex-husband being 5 minutes from his ex-wife, but 5 minutes from his daughter, so he can spend time with her and stay in her life. It sounds like the mom needs to get her life in order, so it is possible your husband is concerned for his daughter, and you are making him choose, like it is an ultimatum. I will say it again. Yes, the a-hole. I have a 26-year-old stepdaughter who we will call Kate. Kate never liked having a blended family, which I can sympathize with. She has half-siblings, but doesn't really acknowledge them, and if someone asks her, she will usually say she is an only child. We tried our best, but she was just not cut out for having two blended families. She hated going back and forth. She doesn't like people in general and hated having extra people in her life. And it really came to a head when she graduated high school. She didn't want to go out and celebrate after, and finally snapped at us that, for her, going out to celebrate always means bringing along a bunch of people she doesn't actually like, and she just wants to be left alone. She moved out as soon as she could and has always been very independent. She is cordial when we see her, but to be honest, she doesn't like any of us that much. Her parents do try to connect to her, but she just isn't interested. She is getting married over the summer, and my mother-in-law, gossipy as all hell and no boundaries, recently came to us and said that she overheard Kate talking about how she fantasizes about not inviting her parents, because she knows if she invites them, she has to invite her stepfather and she just hates feeling like playing pretend. She said she would never actually do it, but she fantasizes about it all the time. Obviously, I was hurt, but I think Kate is entitled to her private feelings. The issue is, her mother's husband said he was just going to let her have this one thing and not go. Everyone immediately praised him for being such a great guy, and then began pressuring me to just not go. Well, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't resent her for having feelings. Everyone is entitled to their fantasies. But at the end of the day, etiquette and social obligation is a thing. To me, it is about respect. You cannot just expect one half of a married couple to come alone. I nicely explained that and said really we shouldn't even be having this conversation because mother-in-law shouldn't be eavesdropping and gossiping. My husband agreed to back me, but seemed uncomfortable. And everyone else is telling me how awful I am and that just staying home would be such a nice wedding gift for her. Yes, the a-hole. There's a reason she doesn't like you. At the end of the day, etiquette and social obligations are a thing. And she's following those even though she doesn't want to. She hasn't asked you not to come. Mother-in-law gossiped and told you how she really felt. She doesn't want you there, and you clearly don't like her either. The only thing stopping you from not going is ego and pride. Yes, the a-hole. You know she doesn't like you. You know she doesn't want you there. You are not welcome. Don't you have any self-respect? Why would you insist on attending a wedding where your very presence is going to upset the bride? How selfish. You aren't comfortable with your husband attending his daughter's wedding without you because etiquette and social obligations is a thing. So your personal belief about what amounts to nonsense trump your poor stepdaughter's ability to have the wedding she wants. How selfish. Everyone that is telling you that you are awful and you should just stay home is correct. Haven't you made your poor stepdaughter's life miserable enough already? Let the poor girl have one day the way she wants it, without having to deal with what you want. Get over yourself and stop being so selfish, a-hole. Ever since my ex-wife, 50, and I, 49, split up, my daughter has been picking fights with her. Nonetheless, our custody agreement worked out to me getting her around 1 week out of the month. Yesterday, my ex-wife starts ringing the doorbell 5 times in succession. I look at my phone and see a bunch of texts saying she was done with my daughter's, 14, attitude and needed to be away from her. My new wife, 34, is currently pregnant and her sisters are staying over at our home. I already had my week with my daughter at the start of September where she lived at the house. My wife doesn't want to deal with her stepdaughter right now because she's pregnant and just wants to hang out with her friends and sisters in peace, especially because she says she feels my daughter giving her stink eyes. My ex-wife kept on ringing the doorbell, and my daughter texted saying she wanted to stay with me for a while. However, I refused to open the door because legally this wasn't my 1 week a month, and my wife and her sisters want to drive an hour up to Hilton Head to do shopping and have a mini staycation. We can't do that with a 14-year-old around, and they've been planning this for a while now. Am I the a-hole? My ex-wife keeps sending me thanks a lot texts, and my daughter says that nobody wants her, but that's her mother's doing at the moment. Don't you think maybe the reason your daughter might give your wife the stink eye is because it's obvious her own mother doesn't want her, and her father's putting his new wife above his child, who also seems to not want her? I'd be pretty pissy too if I was her. You're the a-hole, and your wife's the a-hole, and her mother's the a-hole. Everyone sucks here. 2 parents that can't be bothered with their own daughter. Wow. Your new wife being pregnant is no excuse to not want your daughter, just because it's not your week. Your ex is essentially giving up on her, and you're saying your pregnant new wife is more important than being there for your daughter. Poor girl. Has no parents willing to step up for her. No wonder she has problems. Absolutely everyone sucks here. But I really want to highlight this includes that you're an a-hole. How absolutely horrid. Parenting isn't something that you do only on your weeks. You should be ashamed of yourself. Your daughter will remember you weren't there for her when she's older. She deserves much better than the both of you. Shopping isn't more important than parenting.